Hi guys. Many of you are probably aware of the Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal Lumberjocks thread, but just in case you aren't, I think it's the biggest biggest woodworking thread on earth. It started on lumberjocks.com back in 2014 during the days of our old blue-collar woodworking show. Since then, though, it's become a community of its own. There's been about 3 million views, 150,000 comments. Lumberjocks has had to split the thread up twice already. I think they're going to have to do it again because it just keeps getting so big that it slows down their entire site. If you've never seen it, it's something to behold. Just head over to lumberjocks.com and look for the Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal thread on their forum list. It won't take you long to find it because I think it's the most active one on the site. I'll put a link in the notes below the video if you want to go there directly. Anyway, folks come and go all day long. They chat about woodworking or whatever else is on their mind, and they hang out and they make friends. Like I said, it's become its own community. In fact, every year the regulars on the thread actually hold get-togethers somewhere in the country. And every year I've had some sort of scheduling conflict that prevented me from being able to go to one until this year. Because this year, there isn't a Woodworking in America conference, so I didn't have to spend the usual weeks that I have to put in preparing my classes for that conference. So I had a little free time, and I used it to drive down to Virginia, where I spent a weekend with some of my fellow lumberjocks at the workshop of Charles Neil. Charles, as you know, is a living legend. He's a true master woodworker, and he was gracious enough to let us hang out with him for a few days in his shop. There was quite a bit of eating, a little bit of napping, but mostly a lot of talking. I got to meet in person some of the folks that I've spent years talking to online, and it was just great to meet them. Charles also hung out with us for quite a bit of the time, told us stories about commissions he'd done in the past and how he built a successful woodworking business creating 18th century period furniture for some of the finest homes and institutions in the country. We also got free reign of his shop, which many of us took advantage of. Charles was in the process of filming an episode of his weekly webcast. This one was about Celtic knots, and we spent the better part of a day helping the group make their own Celtic knot rolling pins. After everyone was finished, I made another one and took some video of the process so I can show you how to do it in a future video, which we should have out in a few days. I had hoped to have a bunch of photos and videos of the event to show you, but we all did so much chatting that we didn't take a lot of photos. I was able, though, to take some video of the shop itself, which I think will be of particular interest to our viewers. Everyone loves shop tours, and this one is special because it turns out only the finest furniture, one piece at a time. As you walk through the shop, the first thing you notice are the lumber racks. There are several of them throughout the building, and they're all filled with premium materials. Charles believes if you're going to make something, you may as well go all out. So much of the wood is highly figured stuff. He has stuff in his scrap bin that would make most woodworkers drool. I know because I did my fair share of drooling. Everywhere you look, you see either the figured wood or projects that are made using that wood, like these Tiger Maple Morris chairs. I mean, who else would build a Tiger Maple Morris chair? Charles not only builds furniture for clients, but he also teaches classes on site in the shop. Students who are lucky enough to secure a spot in one of these classes learn everything from how to create the perfect finish to how to build full-on Bombay highboys. Some of the pieces scattered throughout the shop are remnants of past classes. Others are projects Charles himself is in the process of building. He always has several different things going on at any given time. His clients are willing to wait for the kind of craftsmanship he provides. You know how some people say you can never have enough clamps? Charles may be the only guy that actually does have enough. He also has a lot of dust collectors. It seems like I found one everywhere I looked, hooked up directly to some big machine. And there are a lot of big machines in the shop, from about half dozen sanders. I counted at least 2, maybe 3 bandsaws, 4 full-size lathes, and don't even get me started on how many routers. I was finding them tucked into corners everywhere in the shop. Looking around, you might assume that this is a big production shop, but these days, it's just a one-man operation. Well, not really one man. Charles has a couple of helpers that pitch in at various times. Charles' shop isn't what I would call neat and organized. In fact, I was told he cleaned up before we got there. But it's not supposed to look good on camera. It's a real-world shop making really nice furniture. Of course, Charles does do some filming for his weekly webcast where he breaks down the process of furniture making for woodworkers of all skill levels. So he does have a backdrop that he set up in the middle of the shop to look good on the cameras. But Charles doesn't play to the camera. What the viewers see is the realities of a workshop, sometimes dirty shirt and all. Charles calls this woodworking simplified, and anyone who has spent any amount of time with him knows he has a lifetime of knowledge to share. And he shares more than that. He also shared his scrap bin. And by scrap bin, I mean that giant rack of wood that included things like curly cherry, quilted maple, Claro walnut, flame birch, piles of mahogany, and even some exotics that I haven't identified yet. I packed my back seat full because, as any woodworker would agree, wood is more valuable than leather. And those that brought trucks went home with big piles too. This was the first time that I had been to one of these annual get-togethers, and I couldn't have imagined a better place to hold it and better people to hang out with. If you want to visit our little community over on lumberjocks.com, all you have to do is stop by and start chatting. It's not only the biggest woodworking thread in the world, it's also the friendliest. If you've never seen Charles Neal's online woodworking show, you gotta check that out. That's at cnwoodworking.com. Well worth the subscription price. I'll put links to all this in the notes below this video so you can get there. In the meantime, be sure to check out our latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal. It's always full of great woodworking tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker. You can read and subscribe for free over at stumpynubs.com. It's a great place to sit back and have yourself a cold one, because you've earned it, my friend.